Hello, and you're very welcome. You're very welcome to this energy update. And I'm really happy to introduce Trina Hanlon. She is a holistic practitioner trained in Ayurvedic, aroma touch, and lymphatic drainage massage, and also an expert in the capacitor technique for reducing stress and coming back to balance. So, Trina is going to be giving our mid-monthly health talk in July, where we're going to be demonstrating and learning the capacitor technique. But this, if you like, is an introduction to the technique and also Trina herself. So you're very welcome, Trina. Hey, hey. We've known
Hello, how are you, Joe? Thanks for having me on.
we've known each other for quite a while. I'd say probably about 15 years now. Our paths
Yes,
have kept on overlapping. And I
the
know you've been a
shiatsu
real
practice was the first time, yeah.
and you've been a real strong practitioner of Chi Flow with Joe. So within Chi Flow with Joe, we have a huge wealth within the community. So I've been inviting members of the Chi Flow community to share their practices. So tell me, what is it that drew you to Chi Flow with Joe?
Oh, I don't know if you can put it down to one thing. I just knew the very first time I did it, I just knew this was it. This was for me. At the time, it would have been probably during COVID when, I missed the free classes. So I probably came in around November and it was around my birthday. And just everything was really, I was really knowing that there was a time for change and I needed to get rid of stuck emotions in my body. And I was stopping me enjoying. But I had tried different things. I tried TM, I tried other things, but I just couldn't calm myself enough. So when I met the Chi Flow group, it was just that was this woo! I could just do things and you could just throw away things, you could breathe in bits, and it just felt so tangible and it really, I could feel the release. And I love, but what I particularly love about it is learning about the parts of the body. And as I said, I am a qualified massage therapist in different models of modalities. And I would have been working at the time as a job coach for people who are out of work through injury, illness, and disability. So to find a practice that's easy to do and very, very easy to share that empowers people, that was what brought me to Chi Flow.
Oh, brilliant. And can you tell me, you mentioned a little bit there, how did it change your life and how do you find doing Qigong every weekday morning? What changes has that brought to your life?
Routine first, getting up, make it's particularly during COVID, that routine. So like I normally would have been a person to get up early, but I'd started kind of getting into the habit of being just staying in bed and not having a routine and not getting up in the morning and not going to bed properly in time. So having a structure, having a reason to get up, and then having a practice and knowing that I was with a whole lot of other people, I was safe in a group. And that for me, it just was my tribe, my community. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yes. Oh, me too. The structure that it gives me, it's almost kind of like you've pointed your boat in the right direction. So that, like, when you've started with a regular morning practice, whether that's meditation, lighting a candle, doing Qigong, doing yoga, whatever it is, that kind of formulation of structure to the day, and then doing it in a group is so powerful.
Mm.
Feeling like you've got everybody at your back, so powerful. And it's so great to have you as part of Chi Flow, Trina. So I want
Uh,
to move on to the one of the things that you do that I know really makes a difference, which is the capacitor technique. And this, I know you've said, releases stress and restores balance. Could you say a little bit about what it is and especially how it can help women over 45 navigate the real changes that happen in life? You know, I'll be 57 soon. I know that you're over 45, and many of our group in Chi Flow with Joe are navigating these hormonal, emotional, physical changes that especially start to happen during peri and menopause. How does the capacitor technique help with that?
Capacitor, the word is a Spanish word and it means to empower. And it was set up about 30 years ago in Ireland. And I trained and qualified to be a capacitor tutor. So one of the favorite practices that I would use and would share with my clients and with different family members, with people that I just meet, is called the finger holes. So the finger holes, the way they work is the meridians come down our bodies, but they come out through our fingers. So each finger represents a different emotion. So it's a practice that you would use where you would calm yourself, you would take time and you would breathe and you would hold whichever finger it is that's to it immediately. But to practice the practice, you hold each finger for 2 to 5 minutes till you feel the pulse and feel the energy going through your finger. It doesn't matter which hand you use, it's whichever one you want to use. As you do this practice, it becomes a very simple method of calming yourself that's very discreet because you can do it and nobody knows you're doing it. You can do it with your hands closed or, just, nobody needs to know you're doing it. Once I had shared it with a friend of mine who had lost her husband and she was grieving. And I was explaining to her that the thumb was for grief and loss. And she said, "Wow," she said, "I've started back sucking my thumb." So it's instinctive. If you have grandchildren or little children around you, you'll see they'll hold different fingers, but each finger represents a different emotion. We can do this instinctively. So I can explain what each finger means if you'd like, or if you'd like
Yes,
me just to
please.
explain how, yeah.
I, I mean, I know that you're going to go through the whole practice in the mid-monthly health talk, but just
Mm,
briefly, which
briefly.
fingers connect?
Okay, so the thumb is for grief and loss, and often babies will suck their thumb as a soother, so it's to comfort yourself. The index finger is for fear and panic, so it's been told off. So it's one we all have and can be triggered very simply through, a situation that's bringing you into where you feel you're being judged. So for fear and panic, that's a lovely one to hold. This one, have a guess?
Anger
Anger.
and
This is for
frustration.
anger. So this is for anger. And these techniques are really nice to share with little people. Children get this in less than a minute. Adults take a little longer to feel our meridians and our energy, but it's a process that you can actually teach a child, a grandchild, very young, and it helps them to react rather or to respond rather than to react to an issue. It gives you time to breathe and just to hold and do something till you get there. The ring finger is the worry finger, and often you'll find women will be, rolling their fingers around or ring around their finger. That's for worry. And then the little finger is for low self-esteem. I was working with one client and he told me he'd never worked in his life and he promised me he will never work in his life. And I said, "Well, I have to do something with you." So I said, "I'd show him, teach him how to use the finger holes." And at the end of it, he put his hand on the table and he said, "I always sit holding my little finger. I always hold my little finger." So I thought that was quite interesting. And obviously, awareness precedes change. So I was able to hook him up with somebody who was able to teach him other techniques and pass him on to change his mindset because his mindset was just set. So it was about moving the mindset. But the finger holds were a wonderful way of just identifying and a very gentle way of identifying what was wrong.
Fantastic, because it is that connection, isn't it? That connection, what we use our mind, focus our mind, and wherever our mind goes, chi flows, and wherever chi flows, blood follows. So we have that big circle of energy, you know, the three dantians, the upper, the middle, the lower, the thinking, the connecting heart, and the lower power. Really great to bring that in, to have the awareness, and then the physical touch, the compassion, and then the transformative change from the lower belly. Really great. Thank you, Trina. And you're going to be guiding us through a full practice, I know, in the mid-monthly health talk.
I'm
And
looking forward
tell
to it.
me, yeah, for women who feel stuck or overwhelmed, especially, there's all sorts of things that can happen as you transition from menopause. In Chinese medicine, we have big changes every 7 years for women and every 8 years for men. So 7, you lose your baby teeth. 14, height of puberty. 14 to 21, 21 to 28 is big baby making. 28 to 35, it's starting to decline. 35 to 42, again, the decline. 42 to 49, perimenopause. 49 to 56, menopause. Now, these are big brush strokes, but these big changes happen for women where almost we sometimes have a loss of identity. Perhaps the children have gone, perhaps we've retired, things that we have made part of ourselves and our self-esteem are all changing. So, what would you recommend? What's your go-to tool for women and men who are really going through a change, having to kind of let go and perhaps get in touch with really what's underneath all the symbols of the job, the money, the car, the kids, the family? What's underneath that? How would you help people to get in touch with that? Big question, I know, especially because we kind of often want to hide things away, shameful. And that in Chinese medicine can lead to a depression because we're not speaking our truth. The energy turns inwards and we feel like we're useless. We don't have a job. We don't have a family, big changes. Could you say something about your experience of this?
I could talk forever about it. I'll try and condense it down. I can just share my experience. My experience was, I think I spent most of my life trying to fit in to what other people's, to be in the job. When I went back to work, I was out of work between probably 50 and 55, and at that stage, I started to retrain again. And I started to do a lot of creative things and started to do running events with my daughter, and we just had such fun, and we met the most gorgeous people, and it was just being open and being vulnerable and just seeing how it goes. And if it was just for one person turning up, it was for the one person, and just enjoying it. But what I discovered then was that I was returning back to my sort of 5-year-old self, who I loved, but I kind of fell out of love with myself along the way and started to judge myself and go, well, you can't do that. You're not doing well at this. And then I became too busy helping everybody else. And that became my identity, helping other people instead of focusing on what my needs were. It was easier to do that rather than sit down and think. And I had got into a habit of going a little faster, and a little busier, and a little busier. So that was sort of avoidance of having to sit down and see what I was going to do. So during this time, I'd obviously met you, and I had a shiatsu massage from a friend or another person who works in Nace. And it was the first time that I was ever just completely relaxed and really able not to speak or not to kind of want to, if you pet a dog and the dog is trying to lick you back and you're kind of going, no, relax. And I was still that kind of like too enthusiastic to rather than receive. So as time went on, then I actually began to realize that I did need to slow down. So I was trying different things like head space, and I was kind of going, oh, is it nearly over now? And I couldn't really relax, and it was sort of a duty. and it was another thing to beat myself up and go, well, I'm not getting that either. So when I discovered the chi flow, then that really just completely relaxed, and I could get into a rhythm, and it just meant the day the energy was moving, things that were blocked were beginning to unblock. Um, Learning how to love others that drove me bananas, that was a very tricky one, and realizing that if I didn't do that change in me, the change that I wanted to see in others had to begin with me. That opened a lot of cans of worms to discover what was needed to be cleaned out and sorted.
And what
So
practice did you use for that? What practice did you use for that?
at that stage, I was training to do the capacitar. So the capacitor is a very wide range. It has all the healing modalities in the world put together into one program. And probably during that time, I probably used one called Paldan Gom, which is very similar to the apricades. I think they are actually the same thing
That's a qigong set.
as a qigong, and I would have used that a lot. I would have used a lot of Tai Chi practices like that as well. Um, I probably would have also doing breathing, breath work was a big thing for me. So to start learning to do the box breathing,
Mm-hmm.
and then the alternative nostril breathing. And I became a little bit unwell for a while, and they thought I'd had 3 TIAs because I just lost the eyesight temporarily in my eye. So then I went to a Western doctor, obviously, but all the results were clear, and they said possibly it was stress. So then I actually met a Chinese doctor in Naas who was a blind Chinese doctor. So that was very interesting. And he couldn't speak English. So when he told you through his translator what was going on, you really paid attention because you knew he couldn't see you and you knew he couldn't understand what you were saying, but yet he was hitting the nail on the head. So he actually moved back to China. So then I went to look at Ayurvedic medicine. And like your cookbook, which you have the 5 seasons and 5 flavors, they have 6 seasons and 6 flavors. So I find I find your cookbook was just, it's a powerhouse of information that to find out, identify what issue I need to work on, and follow that. And then the acupressure points are very simple as well to use and very powerful. It's upside down and switch it around.
Yeah, yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just in the so there's the two cookbooks that
The
Trina is
cookbooks
talking
are
about.
fabulous. They're really good. So, and
Okay.
very easy to share with people, which I love.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So your first step, if somebody was having those kind of changes like you were talking about, the first step, I heard you talk about that kind of acceptance and love. And what would be your first step to do that? Well, what would be your go-to?
At the moment now, I would use an Abiana massage, which is a hot oil massage that you do for yourself. But if you didn't have hot oil and you didn't, it can make your clothes kind of very oily. It can make everything, it's not something everybody enjoys. But even the brushing down that we do in the class, and as you were saying, just doing the calming, just the stroking, which again is the lymphatic as well. So you're using the drainage. It's like a feather light touch. It's a very light touch, and it's just that relaxing, calming. It's easy to do it to a dog or a cat, but if we just do it for ourselves, it's just our body responds so nicely to it, and it's kind of that inner child love again.
Yeah, it is. The touch. Touch is so important, isn't it? And we forget really to touch ourselves. Like you say, Trina, this month we are sweeping down the gallbladder and the liver meridian. So taking those whole meridians, sweeping and clearing out the whole meridian. Yeah, touch is foundational, isn't it? Absolutely
Mm.
foundational. So even without knowing what all the fingers are, just kind of even see how you feel when you hold these different. I know that I noticed after talking to Trina that I have a habit of when I'm in not stressful situations, but stressful, but in a way that I don't quite know what's going on. I don't quite know the people in the room, might even be on the train. I'll find that I have just held my thumbs like that. And even that for me is very comforting. It's very comforting. Like you say, that grief and that connection makes me feel connected with myself. Yeah, touch is essential.
The lamp, that point is a very powerful one to bring us back to ourselves. The lag on point,
Yes, the
just to
loud
hold
gun
that,
point.
just to hold that. That's it. That just brings us, that settles us and balances us very quickly.
Very quickly. It's called the Laogang point, the palace of weariness. So if we have become disconnected from our spirit, if we have become weary with the world, that we can't see the beauty and the joy, like you were saying, like a 5-year-old child goes into the world going, wow, it's a tree. Wow, it's water, it's a puddle. Everything is full of wonder. So to find that wonder again, like you say, and it's very discreet, isn't it? You can just kind of be pressing this if something is kind of going on, something very
Mm.
stressful. So that connection and touch with our own body. Thank you so much, Trina. I have one more question that I ask all our guests. For me, I love the Qigong. It's my start to the day. It is my morning ritual and sets my guidance point for the day. Tell me
Mm.
about the first hour of your day. What does the first hour of your day include? And what are your non negotiables that you're like, no, I'm sorry, everybody. You have to just wait a minute. I'm doing this.
Okay, well, probably the first thing, the very, very first thing, we have a farmer living close by to us, and he always commented that an animal that doesn't stretch is a sick animal. So before I get out of bed, I stretch. I'd be, every part of me, I'll stretch and bring my knees up and, stretch and twist and roll. That's something that I just do automatically every morning. And I've osteoporosis, so it's really important to keep moving, to keep everything moving, and just to keep flowing, which is lovely. So that's a definite. For even if I'm late, I'll wait till I stretch. And then back to the Ayurvedic thing, I would actually do. I know you mentioned about brushing your teeth, but I would actually clean my tongue as well and do the oil pulling. And the reason for that is my teeth are, as you age, I'm going to be 65 this year. So as you're aging, it's to keep your hygiene for your mouth well. So the oil pulling, you just literally take a tablespoon of sesame oil and swoosh it around your mouth, leave it in for a little bit, and then spit it into a bin, not down the toilet or not down the sink. But that cleans everything out. And then when you're cleaning your tongue as well, it just reminds me that the tongue, as you say, is connected to the heart, and reminds you of what words you're going to be saying today, and it just gives you that little bit of a pause to sort of, as your day starts, to kind of just be mindful and careful, because it's very easy to say something wrong and you don't get really to get that back. Then obviously I would do, depending what time I'm up. At the moment, what I'm doing is I'm doing Irene Tracy's 21-day challenge with the Smovies. So that's kind of up at 7:30 doing that, but and then straight onto your class. But without fail, your classes are my go-to all the time.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And I love the fact it changes all the time. And I love the fact I have a little granddaughter, and I love the fact that I can, when we're doing sort of monkey paws or we're doing something else, and it's just instinctive and she just gets it, which is lovely. So really enjoy that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's kind of taking it by month by month. It's a nice way that we get the foundations and then we can still really have it in the body. And yet it's new. We want both of those parts of the brain active, things that kind of relax into the familiarity. But then when everything is too familiar, our mind starts thinking. So at least then, if we've got some new little tidbit, then we're kind of enacting that focused mind. Thank you
Mm.
so much, Trina. It has been a
Thank
blessing
you.
having you in my life and in the Chi Flow. I really mean that. You are such a radiant being. A radiant being. Thank you so much, Trina. And I really look forward to the whole capacitor technique in the mid-monthly health talk. All
Thank you
right,
very much,
everybody.
Dr. Jules. Thank you.